With every presentation I do, I like to do something a little bit deeper than just a surface level review. And when I saw this knife, I knew I had a story to tell. Stick around. This is the EAFENGROW EF151. As many of you already know from me sharing this in the past, I've gotten away from just doing random review after review. For example, I used to get so many emails, hey, do you want to review this knife? Do you want to review this knife? And I'd say, sure, send it, and I'd create a review for it. I'm a little more intentional now about what I review and what I put in front of the camera. And when I have the opportunity to review a blade or whatever it is, there's always something deeper I want to communicate now. EAFENGROW reached out to me and they were like, hey, do you want to do another review? I was like, let me do some digging and let me take a look at what you've got. And when I spotted this blade, something came to mind and I'm pretty excited to talk about it. I tell people up front, don't come to 411 Outdoors for just a standard specifications review. Listen, you can go out to Amazon, pull up the specs and find out that kind of stuff. When I saw this knife, it reminded me a lot of one I've been considering getting my hands on, and that's the Little Evil by Work Tough Gear. It does have a beautiful finish, and this is N690 steel. You got these micarta scales. You got a spine on this blade that's 6 millimeters thick, which is right at 1/4 of an inch. On Amazon, EAFENGROW's got a little bit of the origin on this design, and it's from a Spanish designer. My interest in this knife is tied back to my interest in tracker knives. And although my interest in that kind of knife has waned since a lot of my raves over it in the past, there's still a lot of things that intrigue me. I love the movie The Hunted. There's just something about it. And I love how that movie really focuses on the tracker knife. But in that movie, the tracker knife was presented as a little bit of an everything knife, including combat. After spending a lot of time working with trackers, I really just believe that that knife is a hybrid between a hatchet and a knife. And it's a bushcraft work knife. It can do a lot of different tasks, but I don't like it as a combat knife. And here's where I'm going with what I'm talking about. If you were to take a tracker knife and make it more suited for combat, you would mold it into this. It's got a little bit of that hook that we're fascinated with in the tracker knife, but it's not a radical hook, and I think this is a more effective slicer. A lot of tracker knives are very rounded on the end, and that would ultimately affect piercing. Well, this is not. This is ready for piercing. And I can tell you that this blade shape right here is going to replace my tracker obsession. Now, I know this is not a tracker knife, and they're not even in the same category, but that comparison is the story I wanted to tell. And yes, this thing is razor sharp, and you can chop like a beast with this thing. It's still got that curve. It's just not a dramatic curve. A lot of people like to use the curve on the tracker to do the carving. This curve is also going to be easier to sharpen than with a tracker knife. You can do separate tasks as well. You can do your batoning here. You can do your slicing here. Very versatile. Not only can you baton with this end, but you can beat the fool out of this spine. Again, apart from all the bushcraft stuff, when you hold this thing in your hand, you know that it would be very effective in any element, combat, whether piercing, whether slicing. You're going to have so much power with it. There's really no limitations in this blade design at all. Throws excellent. I don't know what this blade shape is, but here's what I'll name it. A tracker knife and a drop point knife had a baby. All EAFENGROW sheaths are the same. You get a nice Kydex sheath with a good lock in and a thumb brace, a tech lock, and the opportunity to switch it around for upright or scout carry. Like if you want to carry this out in the woods across the small of your back, you could do it. It's very stout, weighing 15 ounces. EAFENGROW makes a lot of blades that I refer to as a tank, and this one is especially a tank. Here's what I believe to be the greatest uniqueness about the EF151. That is, it can be your all-purpose blade. This can be like a hatchet for you. This can be a delicate slicer. This can be a combat knife. I don't have anything bad to say about this. I don't have anything about it I don't like. It's got apocalypse, hit the fan, written all over it. It just does. The EAFENGROW EF131 was my favorite until I got my hands on this one. Now, when I want to throw a fixed blade, it still doesn't get any better than my 131. But if you do throw a fixed blade, especially one with micarta scales like this, do hockey tape them, because you'll break the scales if you have a bad throw. In most cases, scales that are wrapped by hockey tape will be preserved. You want to wrap them up good so that you don't get these scratched up. That's if you just want to get out and throw it, play around with it. But here's the deal. Although I love throwing fixed blades, I have my blades that I throw and the blades that I don't, because it does absolute torture to the tip of a knife because it's hitting with so much force. If you don't want to have to be constantly sharpening the blade, find something else to throw. Find something you don't care about keeping really sharp. Some people yell at me and say, dude, why don't you just get a throwing knife and quit throwing all these kinds of knives? Well, I'll tell you why. I like the way a combat style knife throws better than some standard throwing knife. All these throwing knives that you can buy out here are fine, but to me, none of them throw like a real knife. My conclusion is this is a hybrid of so many things that I love. I think this blade is useful. It is a very useful knife. It is one of those knives that you can take with you anywhere. You're not going to be limited in any way, whether you're doing something big, whether you're doing something delicate. It's just going to get the job done. It's got a beautiful look and aesthetic and feel to it. A great weight. It's super solid. The EAFENGROW EF151 is an awesome tool. I'm not an affiliate of EAFENGROW. I don't get paid anything extra to do this review other than the amount of views I get on this video, but I will be dropping a link in the description for you to go out and pick one of these up. You can also get the green handle, I do believe. When you look at the EF151, what story do you want to tell? What comes to mind? What do you like about this blade? What do you hate about it? I would love to hear your point of view. For $100, this is a great knife. There's a lot of knives out there for $100 that are a lot less useful than this, but I do believe I got to go out today and get the little evil from Work Tough, especially after working with this. Take care, everybody. I greatly appreciate you. We'll see you soon.